Hello students, as you know that I have already explained you the phenomena of photoelectric emission and also interference, diffraction and other phenomena. As you know that in interference, diffraction, polarization we have used the wave property of light, and as photoelectric effect was not explained by wave theory. I have already told you what is the region of failure of wave theory while explaining photoelectric emission, and it means that for the explanation of photoelectric theory we needed a new theory which was given by Planck, and Einstein used that particle theory or quantum theory of Planck's to explain photoelectric phenomena. So the conclusion is that some of the phenomena of light can be explained on the basis of wave nature, and some of the phenomena of light can be explained on the basis of particle nature. It means simply radiation possesses dual nature, as means radiation possesses wave nature and particle nature. If radiation will interact with the matter particles, then that time they will behave like a particle, and the time when they even show some interface effect, then at that time they will behave like wave. There are some phenomena of light which can be explained either on the basis of wave theory and on the basis of particle theory. So like reflection, rectilinear propagation of light and refraction, these all are phenomena which can be explained on the basis of both types of nature of light. Means they can explain on the basis of particle theory and they can explain on the basis of wave theory both. Okay. So now I think it's clear what is the dual nature of light and why we needed a new theory of light, as we had already wave theory of light. But as to explain photoelectric phenomena, and later you will study Compton effect and fine spectrum and other things, for which we really needed the particle phenomena of light or electromagnetic radiation. So the reason is that if we must have to study both types of nature of light, and we have to know where we can use that types of nature. So I think all these things are now clear to you, what is the dual nature of radiation and for which phenomena they will used, like for interference, diffraction and polarization, Doppler effect, and for all these phenomena we will use simply wave nature of wave theory of Huygens or wave nature of light. And for phenomena like simple photoelectric emission, Compton effect and fine spectrum, for all these phenomena we will use the particle nature of radiation. And also I have told you that there are phenomena reflection, diffraction and rectilinear propagation, and they can explain either by wave nature or by particle nature. So dual nature of radiation is now clear to you. Again let's come to the topic when it comes to the matter particles, means like electron, proton, neutron. These are all the matter particles. Then as they are particles, it means that the confusion is that matter particles can behave like wave or not. As we have studied that wave nature means wave like any radiation can behave like particle, right? Electromagnetic radiation. It means if we talk about the matter particles, can matter particles will behave like wave or not? As you know that in atomic physics, you have already studied the theory of Rutherford theory or Bohr's model. According to that, if any electron transit from higher energy state to lower energy state, then there will be radiation of wave, electromagnetic wave through it. So again the same problem is here, like in photoelectric emission we were there was the incident of actually light wave or wave, but we were getting particle there. So again this is the phenomena when particle is going to transit from higher to lower, but there is the emission of wave, there is the emission of electromagnetic wave. Then again for the explanation of these we can use dual nature here, and they probably work for that types of all particles, means for matter waves he gave a hypothesis which was that simple matter also possesses dual nature, means matter are already, you know, they are matter particles are part of particle nature, but they can also possess wave when they are in motion, means always a wave will associated with particle when they are moving. Simple, I think clear it's clear to you. When an electron or matter particle can possess like a wave, it means that when they are moving they will they will associate it with the wave with it. So this was the hypothesis of de Broglie, and he told us that simply matter as like radiation, matter particles also behaves like particle as well as wave nature. So if we want to explain phenomena of atomic physics or nuclear physics, when there is any case of wave, then definitely we have to use wave theory, and according to actually our explanation we can use both types of nature, either particle nature, either simple wave nature of matters. So and he also concluded what will be the wavelength of this emitted or wavelength of simple the wave associated with the electron. Like suppose that this matter particle electron is moving, simply if you find the locus of this particle, then it will constitute a wave. So simply with the motion of this matter particle there is a constitution of wave, and this wave is always associated with this matter particle. This was the hypothesis of de Broglie, simple. And if we want to find the wavelength of this wave, then the wavelength will be h upon p, where h is Planck constant, means de Broglie also used the concept of particle nature to or quantum theory to explain the dual nature of matter also, and p is the momentum of the this electron, means with which velocity it is moving. So simple, it's I think clear to you. If body will be in motion, then matter particle will be in motion, then definitely there will be a wave associated with it, means with the motion of matter particle it always behaves, it also behaves like the wave, like a wave. It means we can consider matters also possesses dual nature. So I think hypothesis is clear to you. So it's if hypothesis is clear to you, then I want to actually explain wavelength of matter wave associated with the matter particles, and that wavelength is known as de Broglie wavelength after his name, because he worked for the dual character and that's why we called that de Broglie wavelength. So what will be the de Broglie wavelength? De Broglie wavelength, I have already told you, this is lambda equal to h upon p. We can also actually calculate it or derive it. As you know that from Einstein's mass energy equivalence, E equal to mc square. If we are not talking about light, then we can keep it v. Suppose that as you know that matter velocity of matter particle is less than simple velocity of light, so I have simply assumed this. Again, you know that from Planck's idea, E equal to h nu. So if E equal to h nu, we can write h c upon lambda, or you can also write in place of c h v upon lambda, since matter waves velocity is v here. So using this two concept, we can easily, you can actually equate this. We will get h v upon lambda, or lambda equal to h upon mv, or you can write lambda equal to h upon p. So this is the de Broglie wavelength, as I told you, and we can easily prove it by using the simple two concepts, means particle nature of radiation, matter or radiation, and simple mass energy equivalence relation. You can easily derive it or bit clear, I think. So if we know with which velocity any matter particle is moving, and already we know the mass of that matter particle, then we can calculate easily what will be the de Broglie wavelength associated with that matter particle. There are so many forms of de Broglie wavelengths. So let's see what are the forms of de Broglie wavelengths. First, simple, as I told you, h upon p. You can also write it h upon md. If m is the mass of the matter particle, v is the velocity with which it is moving. Second, as you know that there is a relation between kinetic energy and momentum, which is given by kinetic energy equal to p square upon 2m, or you can also write p equal to root 2mk. So we can also put this equation here, then we will get lambda equal to h upon root 2mk. Clear? If we know kinetic energy of the matter particle, then we can also find out directly what will be the de Broglie wavelength associated with that matter particle. Clear? Third, if we know what is the, if there is any potential difference is applied to any matter particle or to any atom, then definitely velocity of that matter particle or energy of that matter particle will depend on the potential. So as you know that in case of photoelectric emission, we have a relation between kinetic energy and potential, stopping potential or potential difference, which will be EV equal to kinetic energy, maximum kinetic energy. So we can also write from here V equal to K upon E, or simple, we don't have to write actually, only use this equation here and we will get a relation between de Broglie wavelength and potential applied to the circuit. So what will be the de Broglie wavelength? That will be h upon root 2m E into V. Suppose if any other matter particle I am taking other than electron and proton, the E is the electronic charge actually, so we can also write it like Q. In general, Q is the charge of the matter particle. So this is the relation between, if we know what is the potential difference applied to the circuit, then what will be the wavelength associated with the electron. Like in case of X-ray experiment, you can also calculate it. Clear? So these are the already actually cases of de Broglie wavelength. If we know different factors. Another relation is also there. If we want to know what will be the dependence of de Broglie wavelength on temperature, as you know that in thermal physics you have already learned that kinetic energy is 3/2 kT, where K is Boltzmann constant, T is the temperature of the body, absolute temperature of the body, and K is kinetic energy. Then we can use this equation. In this equation, h upon root 2mk, means in the place of K we can write it. So after writing you will get 3/2 kT. So after solving this we will get 3mkt. So these are the relation of de Broglie wavelength with different factors. If we know that factors, then we can easily calculate what will be the de Broglie wavelength. So I think now the different forms of and different relations with different variation and different quantities of de Broglie wavelength are now clear to you. So let's see what is the actually conclusion of de Broglie hypothesis. Keep this equation in your mind, h upon mv, right? First conclusion is simple, that lambda is directly proportional to, lambda is inversely proportional to velocity. with which matter particle is moving. It means if velocity of matter particle will be greater, then definitely wavelength associated with that matter particle will be small. So if we comes to the actually you can also have this factor for the light waves. If there will be a large velocity, then definitely there will be small wavelength associated with that matter particle. Clearly, I think this is clear to you. Again, we can also calculate here, if v equal to 0, then lambda equal to infinite. As you know that wavelength can't be infinite, it means that simple, if matter particle is at rest, there will be no wave associated with it. And if v equal to infinite, then lambda equal to 0. So these both are actually concept that which can simply tells us that only de Broglie wavelength will de Broglie wave will associated with matter particles if they are moving, they are in motion. If they are not in motion, then definitely we will get no de Broglie wavelength or no wave associated with it. So simply this any matter particles, if is that in motion, then definitely there will be a wave associated with it, and we can use wave phenomena to explain the different types of effect or reactions or phenomena which they are exhibiting. Okay. Second factor, lambda is inversely proportional to mass. Means if there will be charged particle with greater mass, then definitely the wavelength associated with that particle will be smaller. Clear, I think. Simple, this is inversely proportional. If you have to make comparison between proton and neutron, so as you know, sorry, not proton and neutron, proton and electron, so definitely you know that electron is lighter than the proton, so definitely as mass of electron is less than the mass of proton, so simple wavelength associated with electron will be greater than the wavelength associated with proton when they are in motion. Clear? Third, if you want to write moving mass or relativistic approach, means if v is approaching to the velocity of light, not exactly equal, I am saying, when it will approach to the velocity of light, then we will we call that condition the relativistic condition. And in this condition there is variation in mass, time, length and so on with the velocity of that particle. So if, as you know that moving mass is given by this equation, where m0 is rest mass of the particle, v is the velocity with which it is moving, and c is velocity of light. So we can use this equation in this, and lambda will be h 1 minus v square by c square m0 v. You can also solve it for one more time and you will simplify it, you will get something. So this is the wavelength of de Broglie simple de Broglie wavelength when particle is approaching to the relativistic approach. Okay. So I think now this concept is clear. What is the conclusion? And there is some more important conclusion of de Broglie wavelengths. As you know that the location of to determine the location or position of wave is not quite possible. As you, let us suppose this is the wave representation. So as if you want to know what will be the position of particle within this wave, then it we are not certain actually ki, at which time particle will be at which place. Means to determine the position accurately within a wave, it is not possible, it is uncertain. So this hypothesis also lead to Heisenberg to give a new theory, Heisenberg uncertainty principle, according to which it is impossible to measure, impossible to calculate accurately the position or momentum of the particles simultaneously. Means at a single time you can't even measure accurately the position or momentum or velocity of the particle. Simply if we will simple calculate position accurately, then definitely there will be uncertainty in velocity or momentum. And if we will calculate momentum or velocity accurately, then definitely there will be some uncertainty in position of the wave. So this hypothesis actually lead a big Heisenberg to give that theory, and definitely Heisenberg theory is very important in statistical mechanics to prove, to explain so many phenomena. So as you know that why this hypothesis is very important. Actually this hypothesis leads to so many different discoveries, and also so these are the actually conclusion of de Broglie hypothesis. I think now it's clear to you. Also you know that there are so many factors upon which de Broglie wavelength depends on. So we can take also that lambda is inversely proportional to temperature also. So if you will if there is any increase in temperature of the body, then definitely the de Broglie wavelength associated with the particle will be smaller. Similarly, lambda is inversely proportional to root k. Means and actually that case I've already told you. If mass is if velocity is greater, then definitely wavelength will be smaller, and same things will be applicable to the kinetic energy. If kinetic energy is greater, then definitely wavelength will be smaller. So I think now de Broglie hypothesis and importance of de Broglie hypothesis is clear to you. Why this hypothesis was important? Exactly, it tells us about that. Tells us that simple matter particles also exhibits dual nature, and according to that dual nature, we can easily explain all atomic and nuclear phenomena. If there is any motion in the matter particles, then definitely they will possess a wave, and while measuring any wavelength or other things, we can easily measure other, we can easily calculate or know other quantities like energy and frequency and other things. So I think now it's clear to you what is de Broglie hypothesis. So let's know some other. Now let's see some graphs which have been plotted against simple de Broglie wavelength and other factors upon which it is dependent. So first graph is between velocity or kinetic energy and de Broglie wavelength. So as you know that de Broglie wavelength is inversely proportional to velocity or simple kinetic energy. So if you will plot graph with the help of this, then definitely we will get such types of graph here. Second is as you know that de Broglie wavelength is dependent on the potential difference applied between any circuit, and if we are using two plates, then definitely as you know that de Broglie wavelength is inversely proportional to this quantity. So if you will find simple root b relation between root b and lambda, so we will get such types of graph. And if we will draw a graph between 1 upon root b and lambda, then we will get some straight line. As you know that they are linearly proportional, so that's why we will get some linear graph here. So I think now it's clear to you what will be the simple graphical distribution of de Broglie wavelength with other factors. Also, why wave nature is used actually where we can use that wave nature of matters. This time we are using wave nature of matter in electron microscope, and actually we are using in so many fields. As you know that electron microscope has a high resolving power than the optical microscope. Means we can use the electron microscope to see see that types of particle in which separation is very small. For the small separation, even we can distinguish that particles or any bodies. We can use that for stellar and other bodies. So that's why for the study of closure objects, electron microscope is very useful, and electron microscope working is based on the wave theory of or wave nature of electron or matters. Okay, so these are the application. Actually there are so many applications. I have already told you only one application which is very important actually, that's why I mentioned it here. So now I think I don't have to tell you what is the importance of de Broglie hypothesis. The two main importance actually here which is Heisenberg uncertainty principle and electron microscope and other things. Actually the main I want to focus on the point that Heisenberg uncertainty principle actually lead to develop or extend the quantum physics, statistical physics, and probability actually interpretation. And what I will later tell you what is the probability interpretation. Now this time we don't even talk about what is any exact value. In statistical mechanics we always talk about probability, means we can have this probability of this means if you want to measure position or velocity, then we don't say that exactly what will be the position, but we can even predict what will be the probability. Like I have already told you, it is uncertain to measure what will be the position of the particle within this wave. So it means that position of particle is uncertain. So how can we know at any time particle will be present in that wave or not? So simple, we can easily determine this fact by Heisenberg uncertainty principle and probability interpretation. Then we will find that particle within that wave or not. So simply this hypothesis leads to extend a new physics which is very important, and this time even most of the phenomena of universe and other are explained on the basis of quantum physics and statistical physics. That's why I mentioned that things repeatedly. So I think now it's clear to you, and sorry for that I'm unable to actually explain here all the things of statistical and quantum, because these are out of your syllabus also, and I will actually explain that later also. So let's see what is the probability interpretation of wave. As you know that according to Heisenberg uncertainty principle, it is uncertain to locate the position of particle within any wave or wave packet. If there are so many waves, then we can constitute a wave packet with the help of maximum amplitude and so on. So where will be the particle within this wave packet? We can't even tell exact position. So for this confusion, actually firstly Bohr explained this confusion. Max Born proposed a theory of probability interpretation of wave. So according to him, if we know intensity of wave, then we can tell what will be the probability of finding the particle within this wave packet. If intensity will be high, then definitely there will be high probability to find that particle within this wave. So, and if intensity is smaller, then definitely there will be low probability to find the particle within wave packet. So now we are going to in next physics where to absolute to probability. I think till this point we are using absolute value of mass, absolute value of time, absolute value of position, absolute value of velocity. But after this discovery, we are using probability value or probable value. So what will be the probable value of position or velocity? So how can we simply define what will be the position within this wave packet, where if this is moving with some velocity, then definitely at any time, if we will simply let us suppose that if it is moving with velocity v, then simple, if we are measuring the velocity of the particle, then definitely at that time you also want to measure the position of the particle. Suppose that if we measure the velocity here, then definitely in measurement of velocity, particle will be displaced by some amount. So definitely if you will also measure the position, then there will be some uncertainty, means you will not able to exactly measure what will be the position. So the both factors simultaneously can't be measured. Actually I have already told you complementary theory means wave theory and particle theory can't be measured by one instrument at the same time. So that is also a factor, since position is the phenomena of particle when it is at rest, and velocity is the phenomena of particle which when it is in motion. Means we are talking about particle and wave theory, and we want to measure both quantities at one time and simultaneously, particle nature and wave nature. So that's why definitely there will be uncertainty, always there will be uncertainty if we want to measure both quality or both nature at the same time. Means we can't measure simple wave nature and particle nature with the same instrument simultaneously. Simply we have to measure one quantity, one nature at a time with one instrument. Clear? I think is clear to you. Simple, if you want to measure the position, then definitely you can't measure velocity exactly at that time, since this quantity is associated with wave nature and this is associated with particle nature. So in general I want to actually explain this thing to you with the help of position and velocity. Then simple, if you want to measure particle nature, if you want to explain particle nature or observe particle nature, then definitely at the same time you can't observe wave nature with the same instrument. Clear? There will be definitely error, there will be definitely uncertainty while measuring the wave nature. Or if you will you are exactly measuring the wave nature or observing wave nature, then definitely there will be uncertainty in particle nature and particle concept. So this is a huge actually explanation and concept. I think now it's clear to you what is the probability interpretation. And actually after the theory of Max Born, Schrodinger scientist Schrodinger used this its probability interpretation theory to explain or to derive some Schrodinger wave equation. And by using Schrodinger wave equation we can easily explain or we can easily obtain the probable values of position, velocity, energy and other quantities. Like in classical physics, if you know the displacement of the body in the terms of time, then definitely we can find out what will be the velocity, what will be the acceleration, what will be the energy. Similarly in quantum physics we can easily explain all the phenomena by using Schrodinger wave equation, and that values will be probable values, not exact values. So now from here quantum mechanics works on probability theory, probable theory, probable value, not on exact value. So I think the dual nature of radiation and matters ends here, and definitely I will suggest you to learn and study more about what is the quantum aspect and how we are working in this current era and this at present day, as we are using quantum theory and statistical theory at a huge scale, so that you have to do it. So the best, and thank you.